Right, now let's move on to the bad. You are right, Yanko, I didn't do my good part. What's bad?
I think for me, it's the Falcons at the major.
It has to be. Come on, it has
obviously.
to be.
Obviously, it's bad. I think also some of the conversations around it are bad, but first and foremost, just their performance at the major, obviously unacceptable for a team that positioned themselves as the second best in the world behind Vitality. With this roster, they've only lost to Vitality and then one time to Mouse in a seeding match. You're coming into the major, you're starting in stage 2 as well, which is allegedly the weaker stage to start in, and then you end up losing to Bait, Lin Vision, and MIBR in the end, out of all things, to get eliminated. And for a team that had championship aspirations, obviously it's horrible. But I think when I say some of the conversations, it's like, I guess it's normal nowadays, especially on the internet. People are just trying to sort of emotionally vent and get, satisfaction or point fingers and look for people to blame. For me personally, I think it's ridiculous to blame the coaching staff, right? And to blame the staff behind the team for their failure, because you look at guys like both Zonek as a coach, but Lars as sort of the performance guy. I mean, whoever you talk to that was a part of the teams that has worked with him, they have nothing but praise for his and his staff's ability to sort of create that culture, to create a bond between teammates. And, he did it in Astralis with that lineup and then the full Danish lineup. Then also, in Vitality with the international lineup. And now he came over to Falcons with Zonik. So, and we've seen them show mental fortitude before. Bucharest, they were 0-2 at PGL this year, came back, won the tournament from that point on, had games that they were able to grind out, come back into. Sure, had some tough losses too. The Melbourne final most notably comes to mind. But I think you look at the body of work as a whole, I think it's been really good. I saw someone, it was probably Kassad, who was tweeting about it, and saying, "Oh yeah, if this isn't a fireable offense for Zonik, I don't know what is." It's like that's just
Chad. That was Chad.
Yeah, I think that's just ridiculous as well, because guys like that don't grow on trees. If you're trying to have a lineup that's going to contend for championships, you need to have a coach, preferably who's done it before, but who also knows how to work with different big personalities, with players who have a little bit of an ego, who are a little bit old school, who are also skilled, who need to have their freedom to make their plays and to make their moves on the fly in the game as well. And Zonik also, the way he prepares for games and some of the stuff that they do, I think his track record also speaks for itself, despite the previous iteration of the Falcons roster. And I think for Falcons, unfortunately, you'd love to say, "Oh yeah, Nico choked at the major again," or "this guy sucked," or whatnot. The reality of it is, with the current format, man, you go down to 0-2. It's hard for anyone to climb back out, because of just the pressure at the major is immense. And I think for Falcons, it was bizarre. Like some of the things that I don't want to say that were happening to them, but it was bizarre for a team that's generally one of the best in pistol rounds and low buy rounds in the world to go something like 3-15 or 3-17 in pistol rounds over the course of that stage. And out of the 3 pistols that they won, they lost the second round 2 times out of the 3. So having to always play from behind, never being able to get some momentum in the opening game against Bait. They have a 3-9 half. They won 3 T-side rounds, got reset every single time after it. Like, you're always struggling to catch some steam. And in MR12, if you can't win pistols, well, then you sure as hell have to be very, very good in gun rounds and play very clean Counter-Strike. And then on top of that, they were losing rounds with advantages way too often. Like, in that
5v3
game against MIB. Yeah, 5v3, obviously. But in that game, they had like 7 or 10 or 12 more opening kills than MIBR on that Inferno, right? 5v3 obviously is atrocious, and the game should have been won there, but it's just then you have the OG win where it doesn't even feel good because you have a 9-3 half finally on the, I think, first map or whatever, and then you can't close out that game on Dust 2, which is one of your better maps. So even the win is labored, and it was just, it started bad and it ended bad, as you might say. And Modesty had a bad day one, and that cost you, 2 games in a way. In that 5v3 round, when you hear the comms, it's like you could just also stay car and hold banana with you up. Like, it's not necessary to. And it's all these details that, of course, then unravels in the worst possible way that leads to the game prolonging itself and them sort of losing. But yeah, it was just like really bad. I also think from the sort of viewer side of things, you wanted to see them in the playoffs, right? Because of how those games, their games against Vitality have been the best games, we've had this season. And the Melbourne final was maybe even the best final in CS2. I think there's definitely a couple. The Shanghai major, obviously, because it's a major, probably tops it. Cologne last year was pretty hype and so on. But I think that was it was really, really, really bad what they've displayed at the major.
First of all, I think Melbourne was the best. I think it was better than the major grand final. But moving on from that, because major grand final was just like one really good round, a couple really good rounds. Melbourne had like a dozen insane rounds.
The Cologne one was very good though as well. I'll give you that. I think the Cologne one was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like Melbourne more, but okay, whatever. That's just opinion. That's just an opinion thing. Okay. The Falcons collapse is it's a bunch of different factors that lead into all of that, right? I mean, like you could never really just boil it down to a single person. That would just be probably like the lowest IQ way to approach this whole thing. It's like it has to just be Monacy, or it has to just be Magisk. That's why it needs to get replaced or whatever. No, I feel like everybody shares blame in that. It's just kind of how you want to divvy it. If you want to boil it down to one star player, then you got to look at what they did in all the games, because a choke of that magnitude it starts with the first BO1. It doesn't really actually end, or the whole game isn't just the final map of the final series that they got eliminated on. So I'd say that the first couple are actually, I actually would blame no one more of the whole choke. I know it's kind of ridiculous for all the praises that I've sung of this guy for such a long time, but like if I have to like divvy responsibility, because I go pretty far against what I ran a poll that I think it got quite a few votes, like maybe over 10,000 votes on my Twitter about like who is the most to blame for the Falcons choke, and I think a lot of people ended up voting the coaching staff, and a lot of people voted Nico. But I actually think that, again, going back to this whole topic, like, okay, it was 40% Nico, 37% Zonic and staff, 20,000 people voted, and 15% put Monacy. I feel like Monacy is actually if the format is what it is, and you could blame the format in a different discussion for putting BO1s out there, Monacy is pretty responsible for 2 of the 3 losses that they had. Like the BO1s, he was extremely bad at. So I would probably put a lot of the blame on him, even though there's another topic I have here for after this one. Good. But it's just that whatever led to Monacy playing as badly as he did on the first day, which is mostly himself, by the way. Like I'm not mostly trying to put the blame elsewhere. But if that is due to the staff or people, like the assistant staff, the coach, people like Lars trying to like push him into a different mindset or schedule or whatever, like Monacy doesn't usually start this poorly at tournaments, and he doesn't usually throw 2 consecutive BO1s for a team that is the extreme heavy favorites, nor does he usually. Well, I don't know. I can't speak on the comms of like him messing up rounds or anything like that. Who knows? He maybe messes up a lot of them. But I would say that it would go a lot to him. But I kind of like the discussion in general, just being that it isn't just like I like the Striker take was kind of weird. I think that's kind of what this is about. Like, it's just that Striker made that tweet about like, I hope that the support staff takes responsibility, like takes a lot of the blame, or however he framed it, but then he backpedaled it. That one was really odd because it's like, that's like the last 5% of every team, if even that. Like I would have never, when we talk about great support staff, great coaches, like last year, for example, I said a lot of great stuff about Ursula, the head performance coach or like mental coach for Na'Vi, because they could lose one map terribly, then bounce back and just smoke them on the next one. And I feel like if you take a bad loss in an arena and then you can just bounce back like nothing even happened, I think partially that's your coaching staff, that's your mental staff, because I don't really put it up to the players who are like in their young 20s to be able to just mentally reset that easily. So I gave her a lot of credit, but again, this is like the team was already at an adequate enough level that they could have achieved a result such as beating another top 5 team in the world without her. Like, she didn't get them to top 5 status. She just helped them cross the finish line. And I would just say the same thing about a Lars Robel type, even Zonic to an extent, that they are going to like help iron out that last little bit. But for me, a lot of it comes down to Monacy. And if you want to get down to like the last map, I mean, a lot of that comes down to Nico for sure. But yeah, I think the discussion, it's like, I almost just think like what, actually, I would throw it back to Yenko. It's like, yeah, the discussion was a little awkward and obviously like too pointed in terms of directing criticism and blame. But like, I guess how would you try to assign blame, because somebody is at fault here, if not multiple parties.
This is the thing, like it's such a big it's a big deal that they didn't make it out of stage 2, right? So it's a big talking point, but in reality the answer is super boring, like that, unfortunately, right? I wish it was more clear and apparent too. It would make for a more fun conversation, but it is just more boring that they couldn't get going, they lose the 2 best of ones, all of a sudden the confidence is a little bit shaken, then the win doesn't feel too. Unfortunately, I didn't really watch the games, so I can't tell you, specifically what was going on in that sense, whether it was, oh yeah, they played in a bad way or anything along those lines. But I think it's just that where different things went wrong at a crucial time where they just could never really get momentum and feel like the Falcons that they've showcased at previous tournaments, right? I think this conversation about Monacy and his schedule is ridiculous, to be honest, because when your game is starting at 10 a.m., goes live, when is the guy supposed to wake up? Like, you need to wake up at 7 because the TO wants you to be there probably at 9, the latest, 8:45, so you can do some pre-game interviews. You have a set amount of time that teams demand to be able to set up and warm up and everything. You're going to want to do the walk outside with everyone so people get awake. Then you have to go over prep as well. I mean, probably at least, or rehash stuff that you did from the night before. And on top of all of that, you have one more best of one to play later on in the day. So, it's like, I think none of that really would matter, or I think he has to wake up early for a day like that. There's just nothing that can be done really about it. So yeah, I think definitely if he played to the level or anywhere close, if he was just average on day 1, I feel like they don't go 0-2. Like, they at least are in the 1-1 bracket. Mind you, Vitality dropped a best of 1, right? So it's just possible. Yeah. Mouse went to 0-2 and were able to bounce back and qualify for the playoffs, right? So I think it's just different things went wrong for them. Bad starts. It's if you start, you lose 50% of the rounds off of the pistol round, then you have to play really almost flawless CS when it comes to the gun rounds. They weren't able to do that. If they played their not A game, if they played their B game, they would have probably been able to win despite of that. But they couldn't, came down to that 5v3. You can't win a 5v3 on the B bomb site, a bizarre round. And you would have lived to see another day. And maybe if they had and managed to get into stage 3, maybe they would, feel a weight off their shoulders and we would see a different team. But that didn't happen. They weren't good enough and they got eliminated. I don't think also that the fact that they'll most likely make a change after, during the player break, Kyosuke for Magus, I don't think that played a part either. I think Magus, you could see in his individual performance that he was doing fine.
He's pretty good, yeah.
And I think he's a pro that he's not going to, hold a grudge and now sabotage the team or anything like that. And also, here's the thing. They believed truly that they could win the major, right? And Magus isn't going to squander an opportunity like that or anyone else on the team. Like, they believe they were good enough to win the major, and you're obviously going to give it your all, even if you're on the way out, to sort of go out with a bang and get one more major trophy in your cabinet.
No, I'll pick up on a bunch of these, like what you just said there, because I do think part of the clusterfuck is before we can even get to what actually happened to Falcons, you have all these crazy, enormous narratives circling around them. Like the one of the Kioskier one, the logic there goes, well, because the team knew they're going to have a player change, that's why they played badly. Well, then why didn't they play badly in all the other fucking tournaments? It doesn't even make sense. First of all, when they knew Monacy was coming, no matter what, even if Dexter dropped a 7.0 rating, he was getting replaced by Monacy. He looked fucking great at that PGL. That was actually probably his best tournament in ages. If anything, that probably fired him up to actually be the guy where it's like, I want to get in another team afterwards. I think the same thing applies to Megas Cortezes. It's the other way around. If anything, you try to show out in the last tournament, so you do get picked up elsewhere and someone remembers your last game and picks. And by the way, I do actually think Megas played fairly well relative to his level and why people weren't replaced. On the whole thing, so first of all, I don't buy that angle. Then secondly, on the whole thing about like, they made Monacy wake up, but he knows best. He is a guy who stays up late at night. Yanko just said it there, you cretins. You literally have to wake up early to be a professional Counter-Strike player. That is literally a fact. And do you know why I can't handle this one the worst? You're doing the same thing as you did with Zonic, where when you don't like him, you pretend he didn't win any majors. So like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Right, Lars Robel, you're telling me, guys, doesn't understand sports psychology and performance. If you don't know, the first major, the one with Kirby, was that Finnish woman who went to ENTS. After that, it's Lars Robel. He's the one who's won all the fucking majors with Astralis. And when in Astralis, they won every fucking major and tournament, you all said, but you didn't know it was Lars Robel, that they're geniuses, that they get up early and they drink water and they have a good diet and they all exercise and they do team bonding exercises. By the way, do you think when they gather in a circle that you all think doesn't work because you saw Boros get flamed? You think they didn't do that in Astralis, you morons? Of course they did. The point is, when they did it in Astralis, because they won the game, your brain went, what the hell? I guess that's genius. Then when they lost, you went, well, that's the reason why then. You are unpacking a backpack and getting up early in the morning. I don't like to get up early in the morning and I leave my books in the backpack. Shut the fuck up, you idiot. You're just an idiot pleb that you just wanted to hate on Falcons. By the way, Striker, you just chose an easy target, mate, and you just picked the most obvious shit low-hanging fruit and you picked it on that. Because as pointed out by Maui, that was my point on Twitter, is bro, if that's true, if it's all about how you perform, whether the sports site did a good job, then flame Zirith from Na'Vi, because they've been fucking shit this year. They were literally the number one team of last year. Everyone gave them all the plaudits in the world, all those finals. Well, then by that logic, never making a final, she must be dog shit at her job. I have no idea whether she did anything good or bad. I don't know if she was awesome when they were awesome. I don't know if she was bad when they were bad. I doubt it's just switched between, though, and that she was good when they were good and bad when they were bad. Again, I agree with you. It's the last 1 to 5% is the sports sex stuff. Also, people have got to stop this thing where, like, because they've decided some of the stars of Falcons are chokers, now the real job, the only job of the sports psychologist is to fix choking. That doesn't exist. Even when Device fixed it, he also did it himself as well, you know. He didn't sit there and then bring in Paul McKenna, famous hypnotist from the UK, like, you are feeling sleepy, Device. You no longer choke. You are now feeling confident. That's not a thing. It's like therapy. Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. Some people it works today, but it doesn't in a month. It's such a complicated area, the human mind. I think the whole Lars Robel thing's a stupid smokescreen. Let's get that the fuck out of this conversation. Like I said about Zonic, just like Zonic, he's done so much in CS with Astralis and Vitality. I can give him a pass when he fails every now and then, mate. That's not the end of the world. So put that to one side. What do you want to say, Yanko? Come on.
I just want to say about this whole sports psychologist percentage stuff. I think it's maybe, 5% for tier 2 teams or maybe some tier 1 teams. But I think if you want to be a championship winning team, I think it actually matters a lot more. I think it matters like probably 20% or if not even more. And the thing is, it's on everyone. It's not on just the coaching staff or the support staff. Like, everyone needs to be a part of it. Everyone needs to buy in. And I think that's the reason why Vitality is having a historic season, because they are all buying into it. They're all on the same page. Like when, they have the third tournament in a row and like, let's just push through, we're here already. Just think of it. Just 2 more days until a week off, right? And they all actually buy into it, and everyone's sending the same message from the staff, right? And the staff is doing the work that they need to do. The players are doing what they need to do. And when you get that, that's when you get a really good all-around Counter-Strike team, right? Like you can't blame just because it starts, and people will say coaches and what does this guy do, that guy do. Coaches do 90% of their job before the game goes live. And it's in practice, it's in talking to players individually, it's to reacting to the atmosphere, to team talks, team walks, team dinners, whatever it is, making sure that, no one is being left behind, that you're creating a good group where people will, because you spend so much time with your teammates, you spend so much time away from home, traveling in planes, in hotels, warm hotel prac rooms, all this stuff. Like, you have to enjoy that part of it. You can't just be there for the games and for the trophies. You have to enjoy like being part of that team too, for it to be successful, because otherwise you'll just feel jaded. You won't feel motivated. You won't be able to do what it takes to become a championship level team.
And then similarly for Zonic, look, I don't mind if you do it, well, what happened last year? Yeah, that's fine. You can judge him for last year as well, right? How can you tell me it's Zonic's fault they failed the major, but then he gets 0 credit for those 2 finals in a row? What are we doing at this point in time? And if people don't know, the team that eliminated them from the last 3 tournaments where they had Monacy was Vitality every single time. And in fact, this is what I don't get. This is why Kassad in particular shouldn't take that angle. He's actually fucked up his own argument. Because he's the one, if you don't know Janko, that said that actually Nico and Monacy wouldn't be great immediately, that it'd take time to power up. Well, in that case, mate, if you thought it wouldn't happen and they were awesome right out of the gate, then you have to give Zonic props. He must have done a good job integrating them, right? Lars Ruppel must have been on his fucking shit with all the voodoo spells and fucking Indian rain dance at that point in time, right? Because that's the thing I can't handle, right? In the same way as I don't think Legacy is now a top 10 team and really good because they almost did something at the major. I'm not going to say that Falcons, who every second that they weren't at the major looked awesome, is trash now and we could throw the whole project away, right? The second they got Monacy, the only team that could beat them was Vitality, and they lost that one time to Mouse. That's it. And even then, by the way, they gave Vitality the best games always. They had 2 5-game series. The first one, they actually probably should have won that final. That was like epic clutch from Vitality. The second one, yeah, they shouldn't have won. But even that semi at the last tournament, well, they were like right at 13-11. It was right there. Like, that's why, in some ways, that's why we have to actually thank FaZe and Simple for saving the motherfucking major. Because if FaZe had been shit, and Falcons bombed, and Mouse was 0-2, and Spirit's like good, but no one plays, mate, the whole story would just be, does Vitality fail the major? With the only narrative that was active. And by the way, the second they lost their streak, this major would have been on its arse for fucking narratives, mate. It would have been in so much trouble. So I think if you look at this squad, they were fucking sick outside of this tournament. Now, I'll give you some context. I'll tell you a difference between me and haters. Haters take out context and don't tell you, because the context doesn't make their point stronger, it makes it weaker. I put context in to make my point stronger. So here's one reason why I think everyone is overreacting to Falcons. Because they were bad for 3 days. That's it. 3 days. Think about this, right? No one even gives any credit for this, and this does my fucking head in, by the way. Right? You are aware, guys, that on day 1, you lose 2 of your tournament lives on the same day. Now, if you're Zonic, Janko, where the fuck's your time to prepare for the second game? There is no time. You finish the first Swiss, you immediately get drawn. It's only when you get drawn, remember, you even know you're playing. Even if you played first like they did, you don't know who the opponent is. You can't sit there watching Lin Vision demos. I don't know what people think he was supposed to prepare for Lin Vision. That was basically just go into the game, by the way, against an opponent nobody in the tournament's bothered scouting or gives a flying fuck about. And spoiler, we'll probably never do anything in Counter-Strike ever again. So the first day you lose 2 of your tournament lives. Look, the OG one, I'll be fair and put context in. You could have also lost that 0-2. I actually think you could have blown that one, even though you were leading early, so I don't know that it's quite that way. But at the same time, that paid out the other way. You could also have beaten MIBR and survived. You didn't. I always say this, when you're a truly elite team that can win the tournament, I don't actually need you to play awesome in the group stage. You just have to survive. If you make the playoffs, then you worry about it. We can get it together in the 3 days off. We can build up match by match to match. They never got to that point, so they never came online. Then if you go, obviously I have to look at the fucking players. Like, I do think some of the players played badly. Like, first of all, it's not even, we'll get to this later, it's not even that Nico and Monacy are bad, bro, they still are like good players. They're just, they were doing that like fucking Aaron Rodgers on my off year, it's still a career year for the Go look at the numbers they ended up with, mate. If that's your fucking idea of a choke, these guys must be goated. The fucking numbers are still all right at the end. But the difference is they weren't Nico Monesi. In all the other tournaments, they were fucking like contending for MVP of the tournament. They were cracked out. And that's one area I would say maybe you can put some blame on coaching staff or the team in general, is if your strategy really is, we always have 2 of the top 3 players in the server, that's not reliable for anyone. That's not, no one should ever have that. I always said this about Ziwu. No one should ever have the pressure they always have to be the best in every single game. There has to be more to your team than that. You have to have the games you win where I'm playing badly. Yeah, maybe you can angle that angle. Maybe they over-relied on firepower. And then I also will just throw this out there. The 5v3 they lost, right, look, it is a completely unforgivable one. Because if people don't know, that's even probably the most famous site that you can hold with a numbers disadvantage, and they have the numbers advantage. But it's worse than that. In a way, I think it's criminal because they did do like loads of really stupid peaks. But here's the reason why, again, people are just be using results-based analysis. If they do that normally and any of those first 3 players gets the kill and they win the round, there's no problem. That's their style. They have super skilled players and they're not the guys who wait the round out and play super smart. They just shoot you in the head and the round's over. So I do think, yes, that was a massive flunk. It was a terrible round, but that was also right at the end of all of this shit show where everything's gone to shit. And at the end, who even knows what their mental was like at that point in time? There's nothing left at that point. So look, yes, this is completely unacceptable. To go out in that stage of the major is bullshit. Obviously, you should eat with these players. It's bullshit. I give you all that. But I do think people took all that and then they went. And so my conclusion is Falcons has done nothing. They're a complete failure. Fire everyone. Oh, give me a break, mate. By the way, if you would fire everyone, then you're a fucking dog shit GM yourself. Like, go. Also, I'll say the same thing I did about Lars Rubbel. I have this angle for Zonic, Yanko. You said it earlier. When they say to fire these people, I always want to know, who do you think's coming in to replace them? Because my problem with this is, right, you're not signing someone who's unproven, like you say, Yanko. If you fire someone like Zonic, you're basically signing the coach that is going to win the major with the roster, right? How many of them do you think are available? There's fucking none. So the joke is, every fan right now would be typing in YouTube comments, sign Ash from Gimli. He's never done fucking shit. What are you talking about? Even Ash would probably tell you, your mind, like, no, let me do that in like 2 years or something. Like, he hasn't got experience winning championships. Remember, when you coach Nico Monesi, obviously you're not telling him how to play the game. That's what he's doing with his players. He's teaching PR how to adapt, how to play in a big match, how to play when he's playing badly. He can't walk in, and that's not going to translate to Nico Monesi. I think people have missed the boat on that one. Like, you're going too far the other way. So right now there aren't obvious super decorated coaches who would proven winners. There's not very many in the game. And spoiler, Blade isn't coming. He's on Na'Vi, mate. He's probably going to be on Na'Vi forever. So like, who are you picking at this point in time? Like, that's the one thing I hate. It's the same thing as with the Huxley thing ages ago, right? I was totally fine with the idea of kicking Huxley because I think there's people that were better than him. I would have tried to get like Shuhei or Alexi B or something like that. If there was no one, I'd have said, this is fine, just stick with him. We can still win in the game. So I think people have been really unfair to Falcons on this one. Yeah, it's dog shit, but it was 3 days. It was 3 days. In fact, I'll make a prediction now. I don't know if this will be the same roster because I suppose he bought Kiyosuke now. Even if this roster went to the next tournament, they'd be in the semis at least. Come on. It'd immediately just bounce back. And also, you mentioned it there, Yanko. This is also where everyone's fucked up narratively. Because you know what would make it awesome that Falcons is shit? If Vitality was still had the win streak, if Mouse Spots looked awesome, Spirit and that... No, what happened instead was we had 3 teams, you all know them, Vitality, Mouse and Falcons. They could only lose to each other until they got to the major and played BO1s. And then Mouse lost both of them and Falcons lost both of them. And even fucking Vitality lost one to a team that's a nobody and never even made the playoffs of the major. So what you're saying is in 5 out of 6 chances or something, all the best teams lost. That's the format, you dickhead. You actually all hinted that one by going, stop playing the format. The format is provably part of why they lost. And by the way, everyone missed me with the worst argument ever. It goes like this. Yeah, but if you played the way you would in the BO1, you'd have lost the BO3. Is this your first day on planet Earth, you fucking moron? Even Vitality has gotten smacked on the first map. They've even lost their own map and won the series. That happens all the time. Like, that is outrageous take. Like, that's not the way Pro CS works. At the top level, you reset between maps. You don't just go... Like, that's why I hate it when you guys do it on the desk, where they lose map 1, you're like, well, if they play like that, they're not going to win map 2. Map 2's their map pick. What are you talking about? Like, that's not even the way the game works. So I hate that take in general. It definitely doesn't apply here. Again, magically Vitality and Mouse are allowed to lose the BO1s because they're in the playoffs. All of a sudden, it's all forgiven. And by the way, spoiler, if Vitality wins the final, everyone will just forget they lost that BO1. It won't even fucking matter. They'll have won all the series anyway. It'll just be a series streak. They'll be on 33 or whatever, 34 series in a row one, won't they? So it was a good topic, though. Obviously, everyone wants us to talk about Falcons. It's all good. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.